just as we sort of settle into our meditation, we think about our friends and our enemies and our strangers, and then think about all those people who have sacrificed their lives for this idea of protection of their own countrymen. And I remember many years ago we had a sole gunman who shot a few people. He only had a rifle, so I mean, he shot, but for us it was quite shocking. It was 1996, and there were several people who were in Parliament at that time, and they stood for this idea of gun reform and keeping guns off the street. And they had a gun amnesty. So there was a photograph of all these guns that people bought in that were confiscated. And these people stood up for this idea of, we're going to ban guns. You can't just go and buy a gun in Australia unless you have that sort of kind of special license if you're, running it on a farm or something like that. And there was several people in Parliament who just kind of stood up for this law, knowing full well they would never get elected the next time round. So it's this sense of needing to protect others and take care of others at your own risk is absolutely extraordinary. It's almost this is the mind of a bodhisattva, not caring about self in order to take care of others. So we just think about these, men and women who, they call it serving the country. Really, you're serving all the people. And then you can also maybe think of all these people who are constantly putting themselves in danger, the fire department, the police department. Okay, so um, just pull up Vajrasattva's image. I'll just start straight away because we're running late. So just make sure you're nicely aligned and your body is, shoulders are aligned with the hips and the ears with the shoulders, and just relax the body. Notice your breath. Be aware of your breath. And some of you may know of someone or have someone in your family who's a veteran or who is in active service. So bring all those people to mind. So remember, there is no negativity that can't be purified. And this purification process is basically a psychological one. We create negativity with our minds, so equally we can change it by creating positivity instead. So we start with this power of regret. So sincerely regret from the depths of your heart anything you have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all of our past lives. And think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general, regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma. And we experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions. Having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. And we cannot bear the thought of any future suffering that we will experience. We know from our present suffering, we don't want any more. So logically, it makes sense to remove the karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So think like this: I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows, because I do not want this future suffering. I'm sick of suffering. And also regret any anger, attachment, and the rest that are the cause of why we harm others, and then think again, I'm sick of this suffering. And then think, what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we come to this power of reliance. And here we rely upon, we turn to this Buddha Vajrasattva, who we see as a doctor who has these methods that we can use to purify. And it's not that we're needing Buddha Vajrasattva to forgive us. We're purifying ourselves by relying upon his medicine. So you imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. You can also imagine this is the mind of your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he's made of this beautiful, radiant, blissful white light, sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion. He has a beautiful, radiant face. His eyes are long and peaceful and full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up on a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell representing wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion. And their being crossed represents the union of this enlightenment, infinite wisdom, infinite compassion. So we'll just say this prayer of refuge one time. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So now we have this little section on compassion, developing compassion. So we need to rely upon other beings to develop compassion. So the very beings we have harmed and those who have harmed us by developing compassion for them. So think particularly of people you've harmed recently and in the past, and then in general, all beings we have ever harmed since beginningless time. And then remember those who have harmed you and just have a sense or a wish for them to be free from suffering. Because the harm they've caused you is going to result as suffering for them sometime in the future. So make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for the sake of all these beings and think, I must purify for their sake. And then we come to this power of remedy, and this is the medicine, doing the practice of purification. And we start with the body. And imagine that Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart, and it arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire body, just pours into you through the crown, filling you completely. And then it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid. And it just pours out of you and disappears into space. Not one atom left as we recite the mantra. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita Trida meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Trida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tathagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahompe. And Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita. Drida Meboa, Situkaya Meboa, Sipokaya Meboa, Anarakta Meboa, Sawa Sidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me. Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahompe. And Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahompe and Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Trida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Hum Pe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified, and think there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with your body. And next is this purification of our speech. And Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and it arcs around and quite forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body, except this time forcing up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech. And it overflows and disappears into space, not one atom left. So imagine all the gossip and the harsh speech and the useless speech and lying and talking about people behind their backs, getting other people to agree with you. All of this is purified by this powerful nectar filling you as we recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahom Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahom Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahom Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahom Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahom Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahom Pe and Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahom Pe. And again, feel so happy that your speech is now completely purified. And imagine it's not possible to do anything but benefit others now with your speech, including yourself. And now we have this purification of our mind. And just imagine that Vajrasattva, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. No, coming, no. Very compassionately, excuse me, sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So you imagine, you walk into a room, you flick on the switch, and the light instantly dispels the darkness. So the same here. The moment the light from Vajrasattva's heart hits your heart chakra, all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, all your attachments and neediness, bitterness, grudges, jealousy, self-criticism, depression, anxiety, all of this instantly dispelled, not one atom left as we recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe. So again, be delighted that all your delusions, which are the source of all of our own suffering and the cause of why we harm others with our body and our speech, are completely purified. And think there's no space in your heart now for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. So next is the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind, purifying this very subtle imprints. So imagine Vajrasattva sends light and nectar, and it fills you completely, and it eradicates even the subtlest imprints of negative energy from your consciousness. Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta me boa sawa siddhi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawa Siddhi Mimpi Yatta Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samayam Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe and Vajrasattva Samayam Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta meboa sawa siddhi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe and vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drina meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawa siddhi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe and vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawa siddhi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sattva a hum pe. So now feel completely purified. There's not one atom of negativity left in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. And now we come to this power of resolve, and this is the fourth and final step in the purification process. And it's really quite crucial, this determination, this decision we make to refrain from harming with our body and our speech and our mind. And without this kind of making a decision like this, we're just going to keep doing the same old stuff. So we have these habit energies over and over again. And this determination, this aspiration to refrain from harming becomes like a beacon that guides your body and your speech and your mind in new directions. So first of all, rejoice in your effort to come along tonight. And rejoice even in your ability to be able to come along tonight. And that you even had an interest to come along tonight. So you might think, well, of course I could come along tonight. But there are some countries in the world where doing something like this would be considered illegal. It's always good to rejoice in the freedom that we have. And on a conventional level, some of the freedoms that we have were at the expense of others, servicemen and women. Same in Australia, same in the United Kingdom. New Zealand. So rejoice your efforts and then think of something you'd like to work on. Could be a mental thing, could be a physical thing, speech thing, habit. Just work on it maybe for, just a little bit, not much. So Vajrasattva is delighted with us and wants to merge with your mind, melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown, and think, my teacher's body, speech, and mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. So next, Lama Zopa Rinpoche would recommend to meditate on emptiness. So he would say, in emptiness, there is no I, the creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma, and there is no negative karma created. So at whatever level you understand emptiness, place your mind there for a little while. You can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own sides. And you can also think the way things are appearing to me, the way I interpret that email, the way I interpret that interaction, this may not be what's happening at all. Might be something, completely different. So let's dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy you've created doing this practice to all living beings and think, may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this Vajrasattva practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. So let's do our another 3 verses. Just this I shall uphold with firm resolve until I reach my final liberation, so that I may become a great protector, the bearer of the Buddha's every secret. And this I shall reveal to living beings according to each one's capacity, in order that afflictions may be quelled, so ignorance may be fully dispelled. With this request to the Tathagata, the master of all secrets, Vajrapani, his body bowed, his palms politely joined, then stood before the Lord devotedly. So this is for the swift return of our precious Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Then think for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, have a long and healthy and happy life, and for all of your own personal, individual teachers, that they live long. Okay, everybody.